This conference will now be recorded.
So perfect. So in the last session, we were discussing about different aspects of the requirements. How many different requirements could be there, and what usually the factors you should consider while picking up the requirements. Yes, predominantly it is a job responsibility of the BA or a PO to get the requirements from the customer. But if required, you may need to take help of the technical team, legal team, or any member from your team to get the right and complete set of requirements. That's the bottom line. And we did discussed about the localizations and few other important aspects to consider while getting the requirements. And now the focus is, so once we have the requirement in place, how to record that information and how to execute that information in a project. So as we were discussing that, right, coordination or coordinating with external stakeholders, getting the business requirements, documenting the business requirements, and all these aspects will be taken care by the PO, product owner. And it is a responsibility of the Scrum Master to ensure that we deliver the requirements on time. So naturally, we are going to use a couple of tools like the JIRA and the Confluence both belongs to the same tool called Atlassian. So in Confluence, we can do the documentation part, and in the JIRA, we can track the project. Whatever the information we are documenting in the JIRA, that we can take it as a reference in Confluence. Both are like inclusive softwares, which means I can take the reference of both the softwares. Anyway, we are going to do it hands-on kind of thing. But even before taking that up, we have to quickly understand about the most important aspect is about uh, how many ways a project can be executed. So how a work can be completed. So if he asks that how we can complete a work, imagine if you have given a task, how you can complete that work. If you are an expert, or else if you doesn't have a complete information at the beginning of the work, you're going to understand the work progressively and then complete that work. Or else if you absolutely know what has to be done and subsequently what has to be built, naturally you're going to uh, make a clear and complete plan, and you do it as you go ahead with a plan kind of thing. So having a complete information upfront and executing the project with clear timelines is one thing. The other one is, and the other one is obviously progressively as and when you move ahead into the project, you're going to get that information and you're going to complete the work. That's a second aspect of that. Now, having said that, what we are trying to say here is, let's take an example. If the project is simple, or else if the work is simple, maybe if you wanted to make a small furniture kind of thing, you're going to give a guidance stating that I need 70 meters height and 40 meters width with four partitions in the almirah, and I'm looking for some kind of furniture, uh, and I need a lock and key, and you're going to give all the instructions upfront to make the work complete. That's one part. Why you're able to define everything upfront? Because the project is simple. You just need to make an almirah, and you need to get a delivery of that. Other way around, you wanted to build a house. So imagine if the construction of a house is a project, it's a complex one. You can give input to the engineer of the or the builder progressively. The most important information obviously you're going to give is you want to build a four floors or five floors of building. Why it is absolutely important is because you cannot change the decision subsequently, because you need to make the foundation strong depending upon how many floors you are constructing. So if the proposal is to build some three floors or four different floors, you are obviously going to make the foundation strong enough to handle that. But subsequently you changed your decision. The plan was to build some high rise. 30 floors or 20 floors? Impossible, because the foundation cannot handle those many floors. So at the beginning itself, we have to make a clear plan or the scope, that what is the scope of the project, what has to be delivered. But at the same time, if the expectation is that I should give the a very clear information about the interior, how we are going to design the interior, how the living room is going to be, and how the wardrobe or partitions are going to be built, it's not feasible. So as and when you make some construction, as and when you complete the construction, as and when the rooms are physically visible, then you can make a plan that, okay, I just wanted to design the living room in a specific way, and then I need to design the kitchen or else a bedroom in a different way, kind of thing. So you can give that input only progressively, as and when you get to see how it is going to look like, kind of thing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So the bottom line is, if the project is simple and straightforward, you can well define the requirements very well ahead of the project. If the project is complex, you can give the requirements progressively. It is applicable for any project. I mean, I've just taken an example of construction project. Even it could be a software project. If the expectation from the programmer, or else I'm the business analyst, or else I'm the developer, if you are expecting me that you give me all the requirements of an e-commerce portal to build, impossible. No one can give that. See, if you are asking me, okay, let's pick up some search as a module and give me the requirements around that, I'll be able to give, or else even a checkout kind of thing.
Sir,
So
we have
one
a
of the class. Hmm. Sorry, you're asking something.
no.
Okay, I got okay. I thought somebody is requesting a question. So right. So I can pick up some piece of requirements and I can explain you uh, a very well kind of thing. So the reason, right? If you are discussing about the shopping cart, I can very much explain about the shopping cart, how and what obviously I'm expecting the features in that. But if you're asking me that, okay, since you need an e-commerce portal, give me all the requirements. No, I mean, it's too difficult to explain you what do you mean by all the requirements and then explain everything in detail. Complete one piece of the work, we can come together and we can start discussing about the second piece of the requirement. I can give you the requirement in detail. The reason being, right, once I can see what was being built, then obviously I can give, as a customer, I can give more feedback. I can say that, okay, the screen is looking good, or else I'm missing some things in this screen. Some kind of feedback I can give only if I can visualize, or I can once I can see the screen that is being built. So waterfall method is a traditional method where you're expected to give all the requirements at one go, whereas the agile methodology is something which you are going to get the requirements progressively. So obviously, people started moving away, not started, in fact, most of the software organizations and projects moved away from waterfall method to agile methodology. There are a lot of advantages in agile methodology in comparison with waterfall. And what is the difference and why I should understand? Obviously, you should understand because the role of the PA and the role of the Scrum Master is going to change depending upon the execution methodology the organization is picked up. So if your agile methodology, a PO has to write the user stories, whereas in case of waterfall there is nothing called user story. In case of waterfall there is no designation at all called the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master role exists only in case of agile methodology. So as I was saying, since waterfall is a traditional methodology, so the designations are typically defined as the project manager, or else uh, what do you say, the team leader and the programmer or a developer. Whereas in case of Scrum Master, in case of Agile, You have something called the product owner, scrum master. There is no project manager existing in agile methodology. So if there is any role existing in any organization called project manager, they are following some old methodology of software execution. So as per the new framework, development framework, the designations are like the product owner, product manager, or else a kind of product director, or else a scrum master, or else a agile coach. These are the naming conventions of designations. Any questions up to this point?
No.
Okay. So first thing we should understand about a software development life cycle. What do you mean by the software development life cycle? So any software project has to go through some stages. Life cycle is nothing but the stages or the steps, right? So if you look at this, planning, sorry, if you look at this, planning, defining, designing, building, testing, deployment. Again, it goes back to planning, defining, designing, building, testing, and all these stages. So essentially, you have to do the analysis if you look at this closely, right? First, a product owner, or else a product manager, or else a business analyst, or a I'm not, I don't know what is the CTO. I've just downloaded this, but imagine these kind of designations has to get the requirements from the customer. Without even understanding the requirement, nobody can do anything. So first, get the understanding of requirements, and then the design. The system architect and the user experience designer is going to design the prototypes or screens, how it should work. See, if I'm a programmer, I'm good at the Java as a technology, and I can build and I can write the programs. But who is going to decide that, okay, to execute the project, we have to use the software language program called Java, or else I have to use a software language called Python. You have so many languages, programming languages. Who is going to decide? Who is going to decide that how the construct has to happen to a software? That is going to be done by the architect of the software. Just like your building construction, design is done by the engineer. The people, whoever is working on ground, is going to follow the instructions given by the engineer. Now, what is the fundamental difference? Obviously, engineer is a person who has that extensive experience, who can give the guidance to a set of people. Similarly, the programmers can do anything, but they need a guidance about the design, construct, and the architect. The architect, just like the other industries is having, uh, software engineer, software development do have a role called software architect. That person is going to give the direction. That person is going to give the construct, stating that this is how the software should look like, or else this is the programming language we should use. That instruction is given by the architect. The developers are going to pick that and start working on that. And development will be taken care by front end developer, back end developer. Front end developer is like the screen level development. Backend is database development or else some kind of programming which exists in the backside of the screen. And then it flows on to testing. Again, just like development do have some designations, testing do have designations like solutions architect, QA engineer, tester, DevOps is the person who manages the infrastructure part. And then deployment. Data administrator, DevOps designations are going to handle the deployment part, and maintenance is nothing but the support. Some point of time we did discussed about the role of the support, right? The users, the end users, the testers, and then the support managers are going to handle the maintenance or support activities. So it all starts with understanding the requirements and then design, development, testing, deployment, or maintenance. The flow and the cycle is considered as software development life cycle. Whether you follow waterfall method or else whether you are following an agile methodology, the sequence and the steps in software development life cycle is not going to change. So which means without understanding the requirement, nothing can be designed, or else without understanding the design, nothing can be developed or built. If the programmer never built a screen, there is nothing to test for a tester. So obviously the sequence of steps is going to exist in case of waterfall or else an agile methodology. But the way you're going to do it is obviously going to differ. That is what we are going to deep dive and understand. We're going to briefly understand waterfall because it is a traditional method. But why still we have to discuss is about unless we understand what is a waterfall method and what are the pain points and challenges in a waterfall method, we'll never be able to appreciate the importance and the flexibility given by an agile methodology. So naturally, we are going to spend time to understand briefly what is a waterfall method, and then we'll quickly move ahead and start understanding what is an agile methodology. So as I was saying that, right, we'll understand this piece and then we'll quickly move to the tool. We'll start the project in the tool. We'll create it today. By the end of the session, we are going to create the users in the tool, and then subsequently we are going to add the user stories and requirements uh, to the tool. So we'll pick up a requirement, we'll understand how to document that requirement, and then we'll break down that requirement, and then we'll start the project. We'll execute the project, and then we'll track the progress of the project. Everything we do it progressively. Clear?
I just have a quick question here. In the SDLC cycle,
Yes.
I just want to understand what is defining.
What is defining in the sense? Defining the
I mean,
requirements, you mean to say?
yeah. So planning, defining. Yeah. Can you go back?
Yeah.
So
So that is
planning, defining,
defining,
designing.
planning and defining and designing is something you just saw that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How the construct of this.
All other,
So
no, no, all other I understood, but
planning and
defining is yeah.
defining is requirement definitions,
Okay,
requirement gathering. So it is just a naming convention difference. Essentially, defining is nothing but giving you the requirements what they're expecting to get into get in a software kind of thing.
okay,
Good.
got it,
Got it right? It is nothing but getting the requirements, defining
got it.
that. Defining in the sense explaining what I need in my software. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. So that's what exactly. If you look at this right, you have requirement phase, design phase, implementation. I mean, they just taken a shorter form of the chat here. Requirement definition, like requirement documentation, preparation of the use cases. I'll explain you what do you mean by the requirement and what do you mean by the use case, and we are going to do it. And then we have to design, make a software architecture, map the stakeholders, and do an implementation, construct the software, and data storage and retrieval, installation, testing, and then maintenance, do the support activities kind of thing. So in case of waterfall, the things are going to get executed in a sequential way. So waterfall method follows the sequential method of project execution, which means if there are set of requirements, you are expected to get all the requirements. Remember, that is how the model is. So if you have set 10 requirements in a project, the expectation is that the customer has to give all the 10 requirements at one go. The business analyst or a product owner is going to document all these requirements. You're going to take a sign off that this is what I'm expecting. You're not supposed to make any changes subsequently. This is the agreement and this is what we are going to build. And then they're going to design, do the development, testing, and everything. Just like we have taken an example, right? If you're trying to build some kind of wardrobe, you're expected to give all the instructions at the very beginning. So which means the dimensions of the furniture and then the requirements. You're not supposed to change it subsequently, but it fits well absolutely if you are working for a smaller size of the projects. But the bigger projects, if you're saying that no, you tell me what all things required for a credit card module, impossible. Because first you have to pick up about how to open a credit card account. That is one part of the project. Understand that I should be able to fill the application in a mobile app or web application or customer walk in into a bank. There are so many ways you can fill in an application for a credit card. So first discuss thoroughly and completely about that piece only, and then you have how to going to spend that credit card, how to define the limit. If the customer is not making the payment on time, what you'll do, how much interest you are going to charge, how the penalties are going to be charged. That's a very big thing to understand. I'll focus on that piece. And the third part is probably the reward points, how the reward points are earned. So what if the payment you spend some money, You got the reward points. Afterwards, you return back that uh, Amazon or somewhere you purchased it using your credit cards. Since you made some purchase, you got some credit card reward points. After 30, 40 days, you return it back. So are you going to reverse the reward points? See, every topic has so many things to understand while building a software. So I cannot explain everything at one go. Progressively, are picking up a topic. If the topic is to discuss about reward points, we'll sit and discuss in detail what is the expectation from the reward points. How to accrue the reward points. How to some point of time reward points will expire. So it is not like that is going to be forever. After 2 years or 1 year, if you are not encashing the reward points, it will expire. That those are all requirements you have to build as validations in your system or else a kind of rules in your system. So in case of Agile, you are going to progressively understand, deliver those pieces back to the customer. So waterfall works in a different way. The expectation is that if you have 10 requirements, you are expected to give all the requirements at one go, and the designer is going to do the design, and then development is going to get completed for all the requirements. Then only it will be handed over to the uh, testers for testing. Once the testing is done, then you are going to obviously release it to your customer for user acceptance testing, because we understood that there is an agreement that uh, bug, the software will have bugs. We'll give an opportunity for the customer to test and ensure that the software is stable. And once the software is stable, then only they can go ahead and then start using that. And they
So
raise the
the
bugs
work
and then
would,
ensure that.
quick
Mhm.
question, I'm sorry.
Yes,
So the
please.
work would only start after you gather all the requirements. So it's
In
stage by
case
stage.
of waterfall, yes. In
Yeah,
case of
in case of
waterfall,
waterfall, exactly.
yes. In case of waterfall, the expectation is that first, one business analyst or two or three business analysts engaged in your project, they're
Mhm.
supposed to speak with the customer, get all the documents required nicely, and take a sign off. Sign off in the sense they have to, customer has to give an email confirmation or else a kind of formal confirmation that yes, I'm happy with the requirements and the kind of approach or a solution you are giving it to me. I'm giving an approval to start the development. Then only we'll start the development part. Okay, that's considered a sign off or a baseline. Okay,
Right.
clear. Now we'll quickly understand what are the challenges with the waterfall method. I do have an example, and we have to learn some language. So right now we are familiar about the wording called a project or else a kind of stakeholders or requirement gathering or all these things, because this is something very specific to an IT organization. And since we are using the same language for past few days, now we all familiar. Very similarly, we have to understand about what do you mean with effort, physical days, and duration, how the planning works. Because remember, this is bit important to understand how to give the planning, how we are going to execute the project with a clear direction. Because see, as a customer, whether you are purchasing a simple small phone or else whether you are purchasing a big aeroplane, obviously there are three things which comes to your mind. What are the three things? What is the best price I'm getting? It could be for a phone or else a when anything in the world. As a customer, my fundamental question is, what is the at which price I'm getting it? Am I getting really for a good price? And the second is, when you are going to deliver it to me. So if I'm ordering a mobile phone, first I'll check what is the delivery date: 2 days, 3 days, or 5 days, or 10 days. If even if it is aircraft, naturally I'll focus and see when I'm going to get the delivery of this, after 6 months or after 1 year or whenever. And the quality, how how well I'm going to get as a quality over there, kind of thing. Correct?
Right.
Right? That's what exactly. So the same three things you get as a questions even for your software development project. But so while understanding this, as I was saying that, remember, if you look at this, take an example like project A or project B, whatever is the case. Let's take this. Just for our comfort and convenience, I'm just taking some random dates here. So 1st of January, your project is getting started. So you would be given a kind of timelines that, okay, take a couple of months. So get all the requirements from the customer. A business analyst or a PO or a subject matter expert is going to discuss and get all the requirements. And you are supposed to complete the requirement gathering by 31st of March. So you have time up to 15th. Couple of weeks you are going to keep it as a margin because of unavailability of the resources or whatever is the case. You may there could be some kind of delay. Considering the delay, also you are expected to complete your job of getting the requirements from the customer by some 31st of March. And then your architect is going to start the work, take a month time, and then start designing that. And then your developer is going to take over and spend couple of months again to do the development. These are just random dates. Don't worry why we have we achieved this. And then test manager is going to take over, take again couple of months, August, September, October, test it thoroughly, and then your infra packaging team is going to bundle your software and then deliver some kind of support. I assume that the support is for 1 month. The customer is also going to work on this, and then finally the project is going to go live by 1st of Jan. Progressively, the stages of the project is going to get completed, and you are going to deliver that software to the customer. Now, the challenge with this approach is, right? See, remember, you have challenges in this approach for both the parties. Who are both the parties? To the customer, this model is a challenge. Even to the software development team, also, it is a challenge. What are the challenges for the customer? Imagine, we'll discuss from the customer perspective. You're forcing me to give all the requirements. Subsequently, imagine after 31st of March, uh, I got to know that, okay, I missed out some requirement or else I have to add some requirement. There is a big process involved. Again, to reinitiate the requirement process, I have to raise a change request subsequently, which we are going to discuss in the later stages. We have to raise a formal change request, you know, get an approval, exception approval that we have to go back and get all the requirements. So it is not straightforward. That is the first challenge. The second challenge is about the transparency and visibility. Imagine I signed the deal on 1st of Jan. I could have paid some money because without paying any money to advance, nobody is going to work on this. So I spent close around 7 months, 6 months or 7 months. I doesn't even able to see what is getting delivered. It is only on papers or else on emails, on nothing there to see. I'm not involving in this project closely. After 7 months of time spent, probably I might have given some millions of dollars. I don't have any visibility of the software. I can't see anything. There are no major demos. When probably there could be some kind of high-level demo sessions that make it scheduled, but that visibility or transparency is not there until October or November. Until the project is delivered to me, I don't have any visibility. Remember, assume that the project is on track and you're delivering the project exactly on November. Once you started testing from the customer perspective, figured out that the software, whatever is built, is completely different from whatever you're expecting. It's a surprise, bad surprise. So you go back and ask that, I don't know, this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting something different. Obviously, there is a money impact. Money because there would be a kind of a legal fight whether are they going to get it for free of cost, that rewrite, or else the customer is going to pay again for that is a different thing. But definitely there is a wastage in cost, resources. So you have to extend the working of that resources. It may or may not be feasible. That resource might have planned to work in a different project. So the resource may not be available for you to build or correct the same thing. If you are bringing the new team members, right, it will take time because that people doesn't know the project. Again, it will take longer time. The resource time is wasted. Everything is wasted in case of waterfall method because of lack of transparency. Correct? Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. Sunita, any questions? Hello. Hello. Sunita, are you getting it? Are you on
Yeah,
mute?
yeah, I'm getting. No, 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 no. I'm not
Okay.
on it.
Okay, you're getting it right. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. These are the challenges from maybe from the customer perspective. If I use the waterfall method, there are some challenges even for obviously to the programmers, to the developers, to the development team also. What are the challenges? Challenge number one: imagine that you are a business analyst, you are part of some project we assume. So you worked for a couple of months in this project, you got all the requirements from the customer and documented and got a sign off. The project is up to 31st of December, you completed your job, roll by 31st of March. What you are going to do for the next 6 or 7 months or 9 months, whatever the case? What a business
We
analyst is
will
going
we
to,
will follow up.
you're you're going to,
We will follow up. Means, mm,
what do you mean by the follow up?
can you repeat the question?
The point is the business analyst is there in a project. My job
Yeah.
is done by 31st of March because I got all the requirements from the customer, correct? I got a sign
Yes.
off. I've handed over to my development team. Now it's the programmer or tester's job role to build and test the software. What a business analyst is going to do for next 9 months?
He will track the what the he will track the project.
Is that a
Like,
full-time role? How long you can project? Remember, you're going to spend 8 hours or 10 hours in office. And obviously,
yeah,
yeah, you may
meetings.
there could be some kind of handover required for your testing. Imagine if your tester or a developer doesn't understand the requirement, only business analyst can explain and give the guidance. But not all 8-10 hours you are occupied to do that, right? Probably, if they have any questions, you have to do give some dissemination. You have to make them understand what is the background of the requirement. Obviously, see, it doesn't mean actually that the business analyst will never have any work at all, but it is not like that for the next 10 months I have 8 to 10 hours of work to keep on engaging with all these developers and to make them understand about requirements, isn't it? Naturally, it is not a full-time role. No organization is allowing to sit you idle. So what they do, they'll ask you to work on a different project. They say that, okay, since you doesn't have full-time work here, do one thing,
Okay.
you start working on project B also. So I mean, it doesn't mean actually that
Oh,
you're going to
multiple
leave away.
projects.
Yes, it doesn't mean they won't allow you to leave away project B. They say that, okay, try to focus on project B as well as project A.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Okay.
try to handle both the things in parallel so that we'll keep things moving. What is the
Mm-hmm.
problem? What is the challenge with this? Is you always have competing priorities. You have to speak with the customers of project B, customers of project A, and there is always a kind of conflict. Conflict in the sense uh, these people expect that you should be available, but that time probably you may have call with the project team B members. You always have you understand the challenges, right? The point is you have to focus on multiple things, which is always bringing up some kind of challenges. You got it?
And one question.
Yes.
Uh, how do we know whether to follow a waterfall method or else agile method?
So that is an organizational decision. Okay,
Oh,
not
okay, okay,
driven by one person or thing. So if an organization, see, some point of time, whatever the organization I do work, somewhere around up to 2011, 12, we used to follow
okay.
waterfall method.
Waterfall
Then
method.
there was an organizational kind of guidance received that no, when there's a kind of change in the approach in the software development, we always have training sessions, right? Just like organizations are big, we are expected to continuously attend the training sessions, and there will be some kind of board level or obviously uh, organization level directions or else a kind of decisions will be taken that since there is a kind of new framework or a technology, we should be working in that direction. So there is a change in the trend. They give some kind of training to all the members progressively that okay, there is something called agile methodology came into the market. We should start exploring, and we had initial struggle. Nobody there to explain it in detail. We
Oh,
started exploring. That point of time, there was no actively available YouTube or anything videos. These days, you have
mm,
huge content available. That time, hardly any content available, and we have to spend time on these tools to understand how it works. We did mistakes. We took longer times to understand, but some point of time we started getting that expertise. Now, since we are using it for past 10 years or 12 years, absolutely perfect, and then become expert, and we are guiding somebody how to use this kind of thing. Got it?
yeah.
Right. So the challenge is again from the development team side is again, getting a sign off is a pain point. And if I need any if I need any kind of changes, and again both the teams has to raise the change request and get those things done, which is a painful process. Transparency is a challenge from the customer perspective. Here, allocation of the resources to do different projects and switching between the work of project A and project B is a pain point. So many challenges are obviously there. You got it. So that's the reason people started moving away from waterfall method and started using agile methodology. We're going to spend, very detailed time and topics to discuss around agile because that's the focus of the training. Waterfall, I'm just trying to explain at a very high level so that you fairly understand what do you mean by that and what are the challenges in that. Okay.
Sure.
Now let's understand a bit of terminology here. We have something called effort, physical days, and duration. So if you look at this, right, it looks very similar. What do you mean by effort and what do you mean by the duration and what do you mean by PDs and all? Looks very similar, but there is a kind of difference which we should understand. Okay. So if you look at this, right, effort is always captured in hours, total number, how many hours it will take to work on this or else complete an activity. You have to build an application entry form. How long it will take? You estimate that, okay, it takes 32 hours. What do you mean by 32 hours? I'm not really going to sit continuously for 32 hours without food and without sleep, and I'm not going to work alone. To complete this work, probably you need the help of 2 to 3 members. 2 to 3 members has to spend couple of days, not one day, not necessarily one day. You may have to work together, and if you count how much time I spent on that activity, it will take 32 hours. That's exactly the meaning of 32 hours, an effort in that meal. Correct?
Be a week, right?
Right.
Sorry?
It could 32 hours means it could be a week.
Yeah, obviously. Yes. It
Okay.
could be a week kind of thing. So,
Okay.
right. I'm spreading across these 32 hours in next 1 week time. So totally I
Yeah.
spent 32 hours to do this. That's what exactly it means.
Yeah. Got it. Got it.
If I'm converting that 32 hours into days, you get physical days. How you're getting this means you may be spending 10 hours or 12 hours or 24 hours working in office, but at least from the planning perspective, there is a thumb rule that one day may equal to 8 working hours. Getting it? At least for the planning perspective, you have to assume that each of the resource is going to work only for 8 hours. Assume that.
8 hours.
So
Yes.
that's a standard thumb rule. Okay, anywhere across the globe, for planning perspective, they assume that okay, this resource will work
Eight
for eight
hours.
hours. If the effort is 16 hours, they'll say that okay, it will take 2 days. Now,
Yes.
if I work for continuously 16 hours, obviously I maybe be completing it in one day. But at least for planning perspective, I never do that. You have to be reasonable. You have to take reasonable assumption and you have to follow the thumb rule while doing an estimation 32 divided by 8 in this case because 8 hours in a day you get 4 PDs, 4 physical days, which means it will take 4 physical days to complete a activity. Now, what do you mean by the duration? If you look at this, I'll take a simple example. For me, it is 19th. Probably for you, it could be 18th. So now in this case, let me plot this. So I have taken an estimation that it will take 4 days. So I'm going to start working on this today on 18th. Assume I'll take your date as an example. We just started today to work. I'll spend 18th and 19th. Since Saturday and Sunday is holiday for any kind of IT industry, I'll take a break. I'll restart the work on 22nd. Assume that I'm on planned leave on 22nd. I don't work on 22nd. So you skip 22nd. I'm going to restart the work on 23rd and 24th. Since it takes 4 days, I've already spent 18th and 19th, 23rd and
Okay.
24th.
Fine.
I'm going to complete the work by 24th end of day, and probably I may be delivering that piece of work to customer by 25th or end of 24th or early morning of 25th, whatever is the case. Okay, now this is considered as a duration. What do you mean by the duration in this case? I spent in a week, logically a week, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I got the requirement on, I started working on 18th. Probably I would have received the requirement on 17th or 18th, whatever is the case. And I'm delivering it back to the customer probably by 24th end of day or 25th, which means logically 1 week, correct?
Yes.
So if as a customer, if I'm asking that, how long it will take to complete this activity and deliver it back to you? If I say it takes 1 week, it makes sense to the customer. If I say 32 hours, does it make sense?
No.
No, right? So I'll assume
Yeah.
that acha, I'll get this requirement by 32 hours, which is not the fact, isn't it?
Mm.
Right? So duration is something which we always communicate it back to the customer, to a project, so to any external stakeholders. But effort is something which we do always estimate while planning or estimating for a work. See, while doing a work estimation, I will not say that, okay, I'll take 20 days to complete a work. No, you are expected to give a very detailed count of effort. The reason being, right, you have to track the progress. I mean, very closely you have to give an estimation. I'll say that, okay, I'll take 72 hours to complete this work. Because when every hour of work is getting billed from the customer, you have to give a justification. What is the time you spent? If you say that you give me a billing for 50 hours, you have to give the justification that how you spend this 50 hours in getting these things done, kind of thing. So naturally it is important to give the count of effort in hours in case of effort, but duration. So imagine if you have asked your construction engineer that how long it will take to construct a building, they say that okay, it takes 6 to 8 months. Initially they will give a range because they may not be having a clarity, but as and when the work progresses, they say that precisely we'll be able to complete by end of July or end of August, kind of thing. That's the duration. They will never say that, okay, it will take 5,200 hours to complete your building. Even if they are giving that, I don't know what do you mean by that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they are going to, while calculating the work and making the salary to the employees, whoever is working, they count. If one of the laborer or else an employee spending 8 hours, they pay a full salary for the day. Or else if they're spending only 4 hours, obviously they're going to say that since you worked for half a day, I'll let me pay you 50% of whatever is agreed to pay, kind of thing. For them, it is absolutely important to count what is the total effort, total amount of effort that person is going to spend on that. So naturally, to track the project very closely, we need effort estimation and physical days estimation, which is internal to me, only to software development team. But to the while communicating it back to the external customer, I always communicate it in duration. Got it? Do you understand the difference between effort, physical days, and see? Ultimately, it is going to be one and the same. Whether it is 32 hours or 4 days or 1 week, is obviously going to be the same. But remember, the way how you are going to track and communicate is going to be different. Remember, this is very important. We are going to use this terminology till the end of the training. Okay,
All right.
perfect. And one last thing we should understand is about the lead and the lag. What do you mean by the lead and the lag in this case? While doing the work, you have some lead and lag to take it. Lead time is lag. You know the lag is, right? Lag is nothing but a waiting period. Lead is something which you can do it in parallel. So you don't need to wait for something to complete. You can obviously do it in parallel, kind of thing. So when I said 32 hours in this case,
Mm.
I should consider lead and lag while giving this 32 hours. What do you mean by this in this case is, if you are picking up a program, you need to consider the sequence of activities. Like, unless a developer completes the work, I cannot really go and uh, do the testing, right? You first deliver it to me, then only I can start testing it, isn't it? So there is a dependency on a developer. There is a lag. My activity cannot be taken up upfront. I have a dependency on the developer. If the developer develops, I can test it. That is a dependency, and there is a lag, which means I have to wait until the developer completes it. Or else sometimes you can identify some lead activity. What do you mean by the lead activity? Imagine you have some document writer. Somebody is writing a user manual for your software. Is there any dependency for that person to wait until development testing and everything is complete? No, if I know fairly
Mm.
what is the requirement and what has to be documented in the release notes or else user manual, I will work. So which means while the programmer is programming that, I can start writing the user manual in parallel. That is taking lead. Got it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll take a quick example to make you understand. And remember, this is the job responsibility of a Scrum Master to do this planning activities. A business analyst will never do this because my job is get the requirements, give it to your team. That's it. How to get executed is a job of a Scrum Master or else a project manager. So since we are discussing about waterfall, it could be done by project manager. If the same thing, if you are doing in a agile methodology, this will be taken care by the Scrum Master. In this case, let's pick up about very basic example. In this case, we are discussing about one requirement number 5. So if I have to complete one piece of requirement, what all things I have to do, activities, what all activities I have to do? Obviously, I have to get the requirement. I have to do the solutioning of that. I may have need some kind of meetings with the customer, meeting with your developer to make them understand about that. Some design I have to do, some database changes, some screen changes, deployment, couple of rounds of testing, documentation I have to do. So what I did was I've just noted down what all steps required to complete this requirement. And then the next part is I'm going to ask the business analyst that tell me how long it may take for you to speak with the customer and get the requirements. I'll say 8 hours. And just see how we achieved at 8 hours, how we arrived at 4 hours, and all we'll subsequently discuss later point of time. Assume that you are just believing the team members and recording that information. So BS said it takes 8 hours to get the requirements and another 8 hours to get a solution completed kind of thing. And then 4 hours it will take for release meetings and 4 hours. And you have taken recorded all the timings and you found out that it takes close around 55 hours. So if you are constructing, if you are, sorry, converting these into physical days, 8 divided by 8, 1 day it will take. Again, 8 divided by 8. 4 hours means it is taking half a day. 16 hours means it is taking 2 days. 10 hours means it is taking 1.25 days. If it is 1 hour, it is 0.125 days. So I'm just converting this total number of effort. Effort is always captured in hours, right? I'm converting into physical days. So I'm converting, and if I'm doing a total, I'm getting close around 7 days. I just did a round off, and it took 7 days to complete. So what does it mean? It will take 7 days to complete this work. If I start if I start plotting the information in dates, something like this. So if I'm going to start working on this requirement of 1st of Jan, since it is going to take 1 day, on 2nd of Jan I'm going to work again. On 3rd of Jan I can be able to complete two parts because 4 hours I'm going to spend. And then since it will take 2 days, if I'm going to start some work on 4th, it will take up to 6th. And then there are some partial days, so it is going to take on 7th day. So I'll be able to complete the work by when? 7th of Jan. That is what that is what is implied, isn't it? Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Yes.
but the bottom line, what is the value addition I'm trying to bring here is I'm trying to identify the lead and lag, dependency of the resources, the handover of the task from one resource to the another resource, and I'm going to realign the job responsibilities of the team members to ensure that I optimize the time. See, few things like if I'm going back to the construction as an example, unless you make a foundation, You cannot build the floors and you cannot build a roof. There is a dependency. So if you are asking your plumber that come on day one, they just need to sit and wait and see what is happening. They cannot do any plumbing activities if you are making a foundation of a house, right? There is a lag. But what is the lead time? Imagine you made the foundation, you constructed the walls, you made a roof, and you have electrician, you have plumber, you have person who is making the flooring part and who is doing some interior design and all. You can ask them to work together. These are activities are independent. You say that okay, you focus on this work and the other person will focus on the different work, and everybody is going to work in parallel, and you're going to get the delivery of the project smartly. Or else blindly you are saying that no, unless I complete the plumbing work, I don't even touch the electric work. Unless you complete this part, I'm not going to focus on the flooring part. Obviously, yeah, some point of time you'll complete the project, but it will take another extra 6 months, which is not the expected one, right? See, where if you have a dependency where you doesn't have any way, unless the foundation is made, the building is constructed, a plumber or else an electrician cannot do anything, cannot impossible to do anything. Obviously, they have to wait, which is nothing but a lag. Whereas whenever you have an opportunity, you have to assign the work to your team members in such a way that they can quickly pick up the work, work in parallel, and deliver these things. And that is exactly what we are trying to do. So, what we're trying to do, you're going to identify activities which is having a lag and lead. So, here there is a lag. What do you mean by the lag here? Unless you know what has to be done in a requirement, you can't, nobody can do anything. So, naturally, you record it as a lag. So once you get a requirement, you're requesting your design member that. So since you got a requirement, don't wait. Start designing the requirement. You're going to take a lead in these two cases. So in this case, instead of waiting up to third, you're going to ask your designer to start working by second itself. So your on second, your BA business analyst also going to work. Your designer is also going to. Both the team members are going to work, and they're going to take it ahead. So I'm just trying to identify the lead and lag and realign the dates. And if you look at this right, by just realigning the resources to work, I can see by fifth the project can get completed. The requirement will get completed. So without doing the adjustment, uh, it is taking up to 7th of Jan. If I'm considering these adjustments, it will get completed by 5th of Jan. So what does it mean? By just realigning the resources in the project, I can get things done quickly. Now, so remember, my intention is not to negotiate. What do you mean by negotiation? If the developer is saying that it takes 16 hours, I go back and say that no, why can't you complete it in 10 hours or 12 hours? No, that's not a motive or intention. Here in this case, that is negotiation. Here it is a smart alignment of resources in the team in such a way that you optimize the utilization of the resources in a best way. That's what exactly a scrum master or else a kind of project manager role, to ensure that the work is getting delivered as quickly as possible or else in a better way. That's what is alignment taken care by the scrum master, isn't it? Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes. Now this is just for one requirement. Imagine your project is having 100 requirements. Are you going to follow and do this activity for every requirement? Not necessary. I have to spend this much of time, right? Why? Because if you look at this, not every requirement is super complex. See, if it is a complex requirement, you do these things. If it is a simple requirement, your experience will say, you get to know how long it will take. See, for me, right, since I did spend some 17 18 years in an IT industry, and I can fairly estimate how long this will take. If I look at the requirement, I know how long it will take. If similarly, if you're asking an engineer how long it may take to construct a 5 floors building, they say that roughly it may take 7 8 months. If you ask me, I cannot answer because I cannot guarantee because I never constructed or built that. For you also, obviously, whatever things you do on day-to-day basis, naturally you can do that. If I ask you a question that how long it will take for you to reach your office or else your airport, can you answer that?
Yeah, if you're doing that every day, you would definitely know the answer.
Yeah, you definitely fairly know that, right? Now, the reason why, how you did that, because That's the experience you get it. See, if it is complex, yes, it will take. So imagine if you are traveling, you're in one location called Texas, you wanted to travel to California or Arizona or whatever is the case, then you need a plan because the iteration is longer. Naturally, you have to identify the touch. I mean, I have to stay here, have to take a break, and I have to restart again in the next day, or else I have to drive for some time. I have to pause the driving at this point of time and do this. Now, why you need to do this? You're driving to office also, right? Driving to office is you're doing it on day-to-day basis and you know fairly how to do that. But imagine that every week you're traveling between California to Texas. You know the iteration, what time you have to catch the flight and roughly how much time it will take to reach one place to another place. It is all about the experience of doing that. So why we are discussing is this: if the requirement is complex, one requirement is complex, you are expected to do this kind of detailed planning. If it is a medium complex or simple, if you believe that, okay, it will take 5 days, you just simply go and record 5 days. If it is big, then only you are going to do an estimation and then you are going to, spend some time to do this. Hey, just 1 second, I'm keeping on mute, please. Okay, great. So the bottom line is, if one project has say 100 requirements, not every requirement will be super complex and not every requirement is very simple requirement. There will be super complex requirement, medium complex requirement and simple requirements. So you are recommended to do this detailed estimation for complex requirements. For simple and medium requirements, fairly you can estimate, take a gut and do an estimation. Other way around, you have say 100 requirements, you can classify that into high priority, medium priority and low priority. What do you mean by that? The customer cannot expect that I deliver everything at one go. So if you have given me 100 requirements, I'll ask you that what is very important for you, tell me. I'll deliver you in next 1 2 months, and I'll progressively complete and deliver by end of the project. So the customer will give the priority of the requirements. So if it is a high priority, if the customer come back and say that okay, this piece of requirement is very high priority, give an estimation. So remember, if it is a high priority, it could be simple, complex, or whatever is the case, right? You do a detailed estimation because you should not be slipping a timeline. So since the customer is giving a heads up that no, it is very important for me, don't miss the timeline, you do an estimation for me. Actually, I do estimation if it is complex, if it is high priority. Other cases, if I do have an experience, I just simply take a gut feeling and then give some number and I estimate the project. Why you require all this? Because naturally, just now I discussed it, right? As a customer, I am obviously always interested to understand when I'll get the delivery of the project. So unless you do an estimation for each of these requirements, say by looking at the requirement number 5, I get to know that it will take 5 days. So if you have say 100 requirements, naturally I have to do a addition of estimation for each of the requirement and add some margin to that. And then I'll say that okay, it will roughly take some 6 months. Got it?
Yes.
Right.
That's how the estimation works. So and obviously we are going to spend time a lot on this, how to do it using a tool and all. But at a broad level, how you are going to give an estimation to the customer and how you yourself going to do an estimation is what we learned. And we also learned about what is a waterfall method, what are the challenges in the waterfall method and all. If you look at this back, right, since this is like sequential method of development, obviously it has some challenges and that is what we discussed. To overcome the challenges of waterfall method, an agile methodology is recommended. So if you look at this, right, the steps in the waterfall and agile methodology is obviously going to be the same, like requirement, design, implementation, verification, and maintenance. Agile also is obviously going to be the same. But in case of waterfall, to complete one full life cycle, it will take one full project time. Okay, one full project time you're going to take. Whereas in case of agile, if you look at this, this is waterfall. requirement, design, development, testing, deployment, a very big outcome in the end. You are going to deliver all the requirements at one go. Whereas in case of Agile, you're going to pick up some 3 or 4 requirements. You are executing this life cycle, which means you understand those 3 or 4 requirements, design those requirements, build those requirements, test those requirements, deploy those requirements, deliver those requirements. Then only you pick up the next set of requirements. So, which means you are going to complete the software development life cycle for only those 3 or 4 requirements, deliver that, and then pick up the next set of requirements. It is easy for me and easy for you both, because what is the advantage of doing that? If you're asking me to give the requirements very specific to the search box in an Amazon, or else credit card reward points, I pick up one topic, give me requirements in detail about that. I will deliver this piece to you, and then I'll move ahead to the next one. It's easy for you to explain, for me to also to digest and understand. So what is the another benefit? They have that visibility. Imagine I built a rewards module and deliver it back to you. They will do the testing. If they are not happy, they are going to come back and ask me to make some changes. For me also it is easy, because it is at the very beginning stage. Not like that I delivered everything and very late you are asking me. So for the customer, they have the transparency. There is no bad surprises. Since you are keep getting the requirements progressively, you're obviously going to be you get to see what is getting out of that project. For me also, I'm going to get these requirements progressively, I do have that transparency about those requirements and all. So broadly, Agile follows the incremental and iterative method of development. What do you mean by incremental and iterative method? So if you look at this, right, if the project is to make a picture called Mona Lisa, so in case of a iterative method, you are going to make a rough sketch and then show it to the customer that this is how it is coming up. And then you're first you are going to make a pencil sketch, you're going to make a rough sketch, and you're going to deliver a final sketch. No surprises to the customer, right? Because I know what is the kind of picture I'm going to get it. Imagine that the customer is asking some other picture. I started making Mona Lisa. I'm not involving the customer at all. After 3 stages, immediately I went ahead and given Mona Lisa, and customers say that no, I'm asking something different. You built, why you have drawn Mona Lisa? It's a waste of effort for you as well as me, both. So to avoid that, we follow the iterative method. So there is a marginal difference between an incremental method and iterative method. See, both incremental and iterative method recommends you to keep the customer updated and deliver things progressively, so that they can also start viewing and testing the system. But what fundamental is the difference? In case of incremental method, there is no rule that the deliverable should be complete. So in this case, I completed only half part of the picture, I deliver. I completed three-fourth, I deliver. I completed the full picture, then I'll deliver. Which one is more meaningful? Iterative method is more meaningful, and that's the reason Agile in the combination of Scrum uses iterative method of development. What does it mean? You have to deliver things progressively and meaningfully. It is not like that I'm just giving you the delivery of software in installments, but if that installment is not complete, imagine if the requirement is to build some application entry screen. Out of 10 fields, I build 4 fields and I given. I cannot use it because out of 10, you have given only name, address, and date of birth. You haven't given me telephone number or else email address or contact details or anything else. You give me something which I can test and use it in a probably in that specific stage. That's what is the expectation, right? That's what the Scrum methodology, in fact, Agile methodology work. I'll make you understand what is the difference between Agile and Scrum progressively, but the focus is obviously to understand and deep dive about the Agile methodology and the Scrum methodology, how the requirements are gathered in case of a waterfall method and in case of an Agile methodology. Because as I was saying that, right, if you are part of the waterfall, obviously the requirements going to be documented in a different way. If you are following the Agile, the pattern or documenting, the way of documenting the requirements in Agile is obviously going to work in a different way again. Got it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Any questions? Sorry, I overshot the time and we're
No,
supposed to
no.
start this project. I guess that we can do it as step one tomorrow morning for sure. Okay. Took
Sure.
longer time to explain bit of examples. Yeah, for sure. We'll start the project tomorrow, next session. Okay. Any
All
questions before we conclude the call for today?
no, we're good.
No, no, we are
So
perfect.
all good, right? Perfect then. Yeah, Sunita, just can you stay back for